Hey everybody, my name is Casey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be building a little elegant garden courtyard area with a new 2.0 update items. We're going to be using the castle wall and the medieval side building, and it's going to be in this area right over here. So I'm going to be using a lot of the medieval walls, the castle walls, castle towers, and then I'm going to have this area at the bottom kind of being like a little sunken garden or little like park, if you will. So I'm really excited to get into this build. I also just wanted to mention that I have been feeling kind of like really uninspired since my last build in Animal Crossing. I just have been feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all of the new items. I haven't been so confident in my ability to like execute or create different builds, and I feel like I've been seeing a lot of people say that kind of throughout the community, and so I just wanted to share the story of how I got inspired for this build. I was actually watching Married at First Sight, and they were in, I think, just some like city in Texas or something, like that's where the show was being filmed for that season. And this couple was like walking to like a winery, or they were walking up to it, and I saw like the winery itself was so pretty. It had like these brick walls and like this little like centerpiece with like a gazebo, and it had like a little garden area. So that was my inspiration for this build. I know inspiration can strike randomly, but this was by far the most random. So I'm really excited to be building again, and I hope I can kind of continue this like momentum that I have with the inspiration. But anyways, back into the build. So here I just placed down the medieval walls, and I have a little waterscaped waterfall back there because I want things to be very symmetrical for this build. And all over my island I'm trying to kind of have more symmetry, which is not something that I'm used to doing. I'm used to doing more like natural islands, but this has been quite a fun challenge for me. And so right here, I know I want to have like a gazebo or that flower hanging trellis thing in the center, and I want it to look like it's kind of like floating on water. So here I'm just kind of playing around with the waterscaping and seeing how I want it to look. And so I'm going to work on that for a bit, and then I will pop back in when I am done. If you are enjoying this video so far, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to my channel, but I will let you all watch, and I will stop back in a bit. So right here, I've just waterscaped this little area because I want to have a centerpiece right here, like a little gazebo or a hanging flower trellis. So I'm just figuring out the waterscaping. I'm not sure if I want the water to connect to somewhere else or not. So I'm just kind of playing around with it right here a little bit in the shape of the water itself. So I'm going to finish that, and then I will let you all know what I am working on next. So right here, I'm trying to figure out what type of pathing I want to be leading up to this area. I have the steps pathing, which by the way has been uploaded to my card. All of my codes should hopefully be uploaded now. I thought I had that one on there, but I guess I may have forgotten it. But anyway, so I'm trying out this stairs pathing, and I just don't like how it looks like next to this pathing right here that I'm going over. I just felt like it was too dark, and so now I'm using the in-game stone pathing, and then I'm going to go around the corners and just round them out. I really wish on these like little diagonal side pieces you could put like a little tiny bit of pathing there, but we'll have to make do. And then I'm using this really pretty white rose pathing border, so I think I like that for now. And then I'm gonna place the gazebo on top of it. I'm not sure if I want to stick with the gazebo. I'll leave it there for now. And here I'm just using a different color step pathing. I'm still honestly kind of feeling a bit unsure about it, but I'm gonna just go ahead and try and figure out the pathing for over here. So I'm trying this cobblestone pathing out. I like it. I don't like how it looks up against the cliffs, so I'm laying down some of the in-game pathing. I also want this area to feel like, I want the colors to be like very light, so I'm using this like leafy white tile, and I just think this will look better because not that there's anything wrong with using like totally like neutral or all like tans and brown colors. Like, I want to have a little bit of variation. It's definitely really hard for me not to use a lot of color. So I try to bring that in later in the build with some of the items that I use. And then I decided to go ahead and close up that waterscaping right there because I wasn't sure if I wanted to have it connecting to like a bigger water source, but I figured I would just leave it for now. And so now what I'm going to do is just make sure I'm getting the symmetry correctly for these the cliffscaping on each side. And let me tell you, people who have symmetrical islands, like the amount of patience they have is really kind of mind-boggling. Like it's really tricky sometimes to make sure your island or certain builds look symmetrical. Like I'm trying out here, but it's very tricky. But anyways, I'm gonna just go back in and lay down the rest of this pathing code, and then we will talk about the next part of the build and what items I will be using. Okay, so now that we have that pathing done, I want to go ahead and figure out the rest of this build. I'm just laying down some like leaves and flower petals codes on the center here. I honestly am probably going to wind up changing this center pathing again just because I'm not happy with it, but I decided to work on building out the rest of this build. So I'm using the castle tower buildings, and I want it to feel like really like kind of enclosed, but also like you're walking into this like elegant castle garden area where you can just like come and relax. But there's this little awkward space right in between the medieval walls and the castle tower on that first level, so I have to figure out what I'm going to use to fill that. But I just decided to come back up on this cliff here and lay down more of these castle towers to kind of give this build a bit more depth. And it's really exciting to do a build like this that's so out of my comfort zone. But for this area right here that I was just talking about, I just customized a simple panel, and I feel like that looks so good. I don't know why it took me so long to try and figure that out. And so now what we're going to go ahead and do is start filling in the rest of these smaller areas right here. I'm trying to see if there's an item that will work well in front of this simple panel, but after testing out a couple, I just decided I'm going to go with hedges. So I'm going to go ahead and place down some of these hedges, and then as I'm kind of doing that, I'm trying to get a feel for how I want the pathing to look in the rest of this area. So I decided to go ahead and extend out all of the pathing and put the kind of leafy tile pathing code on top of that, because I just think it kind of will give it a more realistic, like garden-y type of feel, like elegant little garden that you can come to. So here you'll see I am just finishing laying down that pathing, and then I kind of need to figure out the next step, which is what I'm going to do for decorating the each sides of this area. But as I was building down there, I noticed that I had to fill in a couple more pieces up here with the castle tower pieces, so I'm going to just go in and place the rest of these down. I really like the look that can give an area. It just makes it feel like so full in the background, so I really love that. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is just fill in this area right here. I'm going to extend out this pathing so there's like kind of a little walkway leading up to this little garden area, and then I'm going to fill in some of the space around this pathing. I have the plant partition there, but I'm not sure I like it because I can't get it lined up quite symmetrically, so I'm using these hedges. I think the hedges look really nice for like a little like elegant garden area. So I have that done, and now I'm going to just plant some trees and bushes on the sides to kind of fill this area in a little bit more. One thing I do want to mention about using trees, at least this is my preference, is I like to take one or two, honestly you can even do 3 different types of trees and kind of stagger it, and kind of like I have here the hardwood tree, pear tree, hardwood tree, just kind of make it so it's not all the same type of tree. I do the same thing with my flowers and bushes, so I have like a azalea bush, a white cosmo, and I kind of just keep rotating them. I just feel like it makes the area look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to finish this part, and then I will stop back in and let you all know what I'm working on next. So right here, I'm just kind of putting a placeholder item down for these little benches. I'm probably going to switch them out. But as I was down there, I didn't like the view of this little terraformed and waterscape cliff up here. When you're on the first level, it just kind of looked like there's a big gap or hole in between these castle towers. So I decided to tear that down, and then I'm going to go ahead and play around with some different items to fill in this little gap right here. So I'll let you all watch me do that for a little bit. I also just recommend for kind of more like building type builds, for lack of a better word. It just is better not to have any big gaps in it. That's just my personal preference. And so I did like the medieval walls, but I decided to use the castle wall instead. It just gives a little bit more height, and I'm using a different shade as well. I just feel like I can make the different shade work because it's right in the center. And so I also did that on my other build that I did for kind of like a castle build. I used the tan and then the like lighter beige color, and I rotated them or staggered them, so I feel like that can also help give some different variety to an area. And then right here I'm kind of just figuring out what I want to put in this area, so I decided to go ahead and play around with a couple different types of pathing, so I will let you all watch me do that for a little bit. So for this area, I think I'm having a little bit of a hard time with the pathing is because I'm using the custom codes on top of the in-game pathing. And so there's like a little like slit where it's like, I don't know, like right next to the hedges, it just isn't lining up correctly. And then I remembered I have this really nice border pathing that I used actually in my last build. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out how to lay that down in this area. But it just wound up fitting so much nicer and a lot better. So I'm just removing some of the pathing that I had previously laid down. I also do have this pathing linked in my card if you are interested in that. It's really perfect for kind of more city islands. You can use it on natural islands too, but I found that this helps me a lot with kind of like linking pathing in two different areas or using two different styles of pathing like I have here. So I'm going to just extend the in-game pathing as well all the way around so I can go ahead and use this border. I just think it looks really, really good in this area. So I'm going to just finish laying that down right now. So now that I have this pathing laid down, I'm going to just play around with a couple different items. I have the garden wagons here, and I'm going to just see what I can make look symmetrical and make look good and kind of go for the vibe that I want for this area. It's also kind of tricky because I only have this like one tile space of pathing, and so I just have to find the right type of item. I'm trying out these partitions, but the sizing is just it's not working for this area, so I try it just having two there, and I'm not sure if I like that, but I do end up leaving it, and then I just am going around and filling in this area with bushes and flowers. Of course, those are two of my favorite items to kind of fill in empty space for a build. And overall, this build has been a bit challenging, but when I go back and take a look at the view of the build as a whole, I find it really, really exciting to see that it's actually coming together. And so now that I have these bushes down, I'm just trying to figure out if I can place a little item on each side here. I tried the vases, I don't totally love that. And then I decided to come back over to this little centerpiece and try laying down a kind of flower vine hanging item. Pergola. You guys, I'm never gonna learn how to say that word. Maybe I should just use like Google and get the pronunciation right. But I do decide to change it to a different type of gazebo, and since that gazebo is a different color, I am changing the pathing in the center here. First, I'm trying this flowery kind of green, dark green pathing, and I'm just not sure that I totally love it. And so you'll see me playing around with a different like color variations of the flower vine hanging item and the gazebos. I do like that gazebo I have on there right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and leave that. And then I do decide to use the flower bed right here. I feel like that's kind of a perfect item for the little awkward amount of space I had on each side there. And now I'm going to just go in and fill in the rest of this area with some trees and then work on just the final last steps for this build. So I'm really, really excited to show you all the final product here. So I did decide to go ahead and change out the pathing I had underneath the gazebo there to kind of just a tan colored pathing. And then right here, I'm just going in and adding some street lamps on each side. And again, just making sure it looks as symmetrical as possible here. And then I do just want to go ahead and make sure I have all of the flowers and bushes even on each side. And then I just have a couple more steps to do. So as I'm taking a look at this build as a whole, I want to go ahead and place some of the lilies on top of these castle tower pieces right here. If you didn't know, you can place items on top of the castle towers. I think it just has to be like a 1 by 1 by 1 item. So I'm just finishing doing that here, and then I'm gonna come back down and then just place this last one up here, and then I'm just gonna swap out the benches. I do like how the garden benches look, but it's just too much like of the same kind of color in one area, and so I'm going to place down the plaza bench and the pink and green and yellow customization. I just think that adds like a nice little pop of color. And then here I'm just adding in some singular pieces of fencing. I just think that can tend to make an area feel a bit more whole and fill in like empty space if you have just kind of random empty tile spaces anywhere. But as we are getting kind of close to the end of this build, I will let y'all watch me finish the last little couple areas, and then I will take you on the final walkthrough. Okay, so this is the last area I want to work on. I decided to go ahead and incorporate the garden wagons because what is a little garden plaza without garden wagons? So I'm just placing those down on each side, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the wood partition. I'm trying out the white one. I'm not sure that I totally love that customization of it, so I do eventually decide that I'm going to go ahead and change out the white customization for this kind of like rustic, I'm not sure, like worn customization color. I just think it looks better. But after this, we will have completed the build, and so now what I want to do is take you all on the final walkthrough of this area. So here we are, this is the final walkthrough. I will go ahead and open up my camera so you guys can see the full view of this area with all of the new 2.0 update items. This build was really fun, and like I had mentioned, it was inspired by something kind of random and something that I did not think would bring me any inspiration, but like I said earlier, just can strike in the most random times. But this is the kind of sideways camera view of this area. I think it looks okay. I think it'll look better when I have more areas filled in. But overall, I'm really quite pleased with it. I like how you can also like hop through the little gazebo, and I tried to keep the symmetry with the benches on each side. So I tried to make this build so it wouldn't take up like too much space. So if you wanted to try and recreate this on your island, I mean, I know it does look kind of big, but it's not as big as I probably could have made it. So I know I've seen some comments where people have been kind of saying they don't have enough room on their island. So I hope this is able to help you all, and I hope it's able to inspire some of you all. I also just wanted to say a big thank you to all of my new subscribers. All of your support really means so much to me. If you are interested in becoming a channel member, check out all of the perks for members on my community page. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!